Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope you're having a good day. There's not much you can do about the weather, but I hope it's cooperating where you are. If not, that you're able to handle it very well. And that kind of leads us towards our subject today. The question is, are you in control? And there's several ways of looking at this. See, most of us like to think that we're in control of everything around us, of what's going on and what we're doing and all this stuff. And the reality is that the amount of control we have over every aspect of our lives is very little when you think about it. And just when we think that things are going well and that we have the situation under control, something happens to remind us that the amount of control we have has many variables. And how we handle those variables will determine how much control we think we can exercise. For quite obvious that we are not in control. And like the weather. See, the weather is not something that we can control. It can't be controlled. Patterns, we can look at history and even the short and long-term forecast, but we cannot control it. We just have to work around bad weather. Let's face it, if a tornado rips your house apart, what kind of control did you exercise to prevent it? Well, nothing at all, for you cannot control such. We could not prevent a rainstorm or a hurricane, or in some places you cannot control earthquakes. When it comes to control, you really don't have any. And when those things happen, you realize how very little control you have. Some say that in this country we have control over our government. Well, reality tells us otherwise. See, it does not matter how you vote because things are not going to change the way we want them to change. And we have no control over them. See, I would love to see the citizens of this country return to godly living. And I would like to see everyone respect the rule of law and abide by the laws that we have. And when the politicians turn around and say, well, we're not going to enforce that law, what does that produce? It produces chaos. And so if they're not going to enforce some laws, why should we, the citizens, respect any laws? That's what this world is coming down to. And so I wish we could remove money from the equation. See, everything's about money. No matter what it is. All the wickedness, all the crime, all the vices is all about money. If there wasn't money to be made, people wouldn't be doing those things. And so, even Paul said money is the root of all sorts of evil. The acquisition of that money, the striving after it, the coveting of that money. And some people get it legally, and a lot of people get it illegally. And so, these politicians, they ask us to vote for them, and in return, they will represent our views on various issues. When was the last time that happened? When all is done, they will vote how they are advised to vote, and reality tells us that it is not the people who elected them that are advising them. No, they have their interest groups and things like that directing their every move, and so they're the ones actually in control. Even the president doesn't have that much control, and when one tried to take control, everybody else just learned to hate him. All right, but anyway, let's get back to it. What if you're the owner of a business? See, you can never be in full control. Yeah, you'd think, okay, well, I don't have my own boss, and so you don't have to answer to a boss or supervisor, but yet your business depends upon customers and the market valuation your company provides, whether it's a product or whether it's a service. And if there's no market for your service or wares, you do not profit or make any money. So the market is in control and you are not. See, everything in this world depends on various factors that teach us that we are not under control in most circumstances. Yet we can control how we react to various factors, and that's the point of our lesson today. We can control how we respond to these factors. And so, we've seen this year has brought us a lot of challenges and a lot of trials for a lot of people. It's bringing tribulation. And yeah, I mean, it's something that we wish had never happened, but yeah, could we control it? No, we couldn't control these things. And yet we also seem to politicians are learning how to control us because of something like what has happened. And so, like I say, we control how we react to various factors. See, some people have a contingency plan. I mean, a lot of people who plan, a lot of people who think ahead, sometimes they have, plan A doesn't work, let's go to plan. A lot of people don't ever get to that planning stage of planning plan B when something doesn't go right. And so they have this plan, but what if the weather turns bad? You have the plans for maybe a wedding or a get together or a party or picnic or something, and all of a sudden storms start rolling in. What's your contingency plan? Well, basically, nobody shows up. And so all the plans and all the money you save for this basically is wasted unless you have a contingency plan. Well, some people have outdoors planned and say, well, let's just move it indoors. And some people have that ability. But you never know. See, many citizens have the collective ability to vote for another candidate. I mean, they do. Someone who might give you a chance. But reality tells us that probably 99% of the time, the incumbent usually gets put back in there. Simply because, well, they know what they're doing. We'll just let them keep doing it. And so that's why some of them stay in politics for many years, all the way to the point where they die in office. And they really haven't accomplished anything for us. Just look at the conditions of our world that we live in. I mean, some places are pretty, yet some places are pretty nasty. And so, yeah. And so we make decisions on the job that help us prepare for maybe when the market decides to slow down. So, yeah, we have layoffs and we cut jobs and anything to try and keep the company afloat, even to the point where, all right, well, if we can't do that, then we just have to shut down the company altogether. Now, guess what? We're no longer in control, and we've got to go find a job and have to answer to somebody if we're going to make any money. So, even if the circumstances change, we do not have a measure of control. The only control we have is over ourselves. And we learn that. See, spiritually, we must have faith that God is in control of all things. The Bible tells us He does. God is in control. Jesus, His Son, says that He holds all things together. Jesus was there in creation. Jesus is God. And so, yes, He was there in creation. He was instrumental in the creation, and He holds all things together. Because science can tell you that if it wasn't for the natural forces, whether it might be centrifugal force or gravity or something else, guess what? We just all fly off the face of this earth. And so, God holds all these things in control, and it's God who's going to control the weather. It is God's going to determine how this earth is going to respond when mankind does things. And of course, these people think that humans can affect climate change. They really can't. They think they can, and of course, this is a measure of control. Yeah, well, we're going to make up these laws, so we're going to control you and what you're going to do. And guess what? It usually backfires on them. And so God is in control, and we would do well to listen to Him. Now, once again, to be honest, the only thing we can truthfully say about what we control is ourselves. We decide how we will handle things that come our way. And yes, if you're the boss, you have a measure of control, but you don't have complete control. And so we realize that. We make the choice on how we react to adverse situations. See, we choose to live righteous according to the Bible. And if we look at the consequences and what are the alternatives, well, we know there's only two alternatives for our soul when we die, either heaven or hell. And so we know that if we live a righteous life according to the Bible, God's going to reward us with heaven. Or if we live in wickedness, God's going to send us into hell. And so the fact of the matter is that every sin is a matter of choice that we definitely have control over. The Bible even teaches that we have the ability to make correct choices, and that God even helps us make those right choices. 1 Corinthians 10:13, that all the temptations and trials that come before us is just common to everybody. But God knows what we're capable of handling, and so he will not allow any temptation that is stronger than we can bear. Now, some people give up real easy, but God says, no, you have the ability, because every time you have that ability, you have the way of escape. I mean, sometimes the way of escape is just simply saying no. I mean, it's that simple. Sometimes it means I need to get out of here. And so that's what you realize when maybe a temptation is there. What are you going to do? You're going to keep there and let it keep tempting you, or you're going to get out of there. And so, really, in reality, tells us in the end, the decision comes down to you and me, whether we will do what is right in the sight of God or not. We have these choices available to us. And so, when you think of, are we in control? Honestly, we're not in a lot of control. We just basically go along to get along. That's what a lot of people do. Sometimes, we go along, we pay our taxes. We observe the laws to the best of our ability. A lot of us do. Like I say, some people have chosen not to do that. But a lot of these things, we're in control because certain things kind of restrain us. I mean, in our country, the Constitution kind of restrains certain things, and if people respected the Constitution more, our country would be in a lot better shape. And of course, the same thing said about the Bible. The Bible constrains us. The love of Christ constrains us. Not to do evil, but to cause us to do those things that are right in the sight of God. And of course, we'll receive the benefits from that. And so that's what we're looking for. And we want to encourage everybody to go to the Bible and see what the Bible teaches and incorporate those things into your lives. Make that part of your behavior. And then when you learn to cast all your care upon God because he cares for you, then guess what? In Philippians 4, he says, be anxious for nothing, but in prayer and supplication, make your request known to God. And the result of that is he's going to give you the peace that passes all understanding. And so, yes, consider those thoughts. I mean, putting our trust in God, sure, there's a lot of things we cannot control. And, even like the rent, you can't control that. If it's too much for you, you have to move. But let's face it, if you're going to live comfortably, you're going to pay the rent, even if the rent goes up. So, yeah, a lot of things in this life we cannot control. But what we can control, and a lot of people don't seem to do it, what we can control is ourselves. And so we put our trust in God, as we talked about the other day, put our trust in God. Really, God will direct our path, and it'll be a good path. And even though there may be bumps along the way, God will be there with us to help us through those situations. So he helps us through whatever adversity we may have. So put your trust in God, and you'll see that, okay, there is a measure of control, but it's me. We can't control God. We can't control so many different things, but we can control ourselves. Yes, you might say, okay, parents have the responsibility for their children's behavior. Well, yeah, sometimes they have to modify that behavior. If the kids start acting up, they need to take measures to control their activity. So this all makes sense. I hope it makes sense to you because it makes sense to me. All right, that's our lesson for today. Do something for God. Tomorrow, the Lord's Day, you'll be assembling with the saints. At least I hope you will be. If not, you need to. You need to find faithful Christians who are trying to get to heaven and get in touch with them because they care about you and just as much as God cares about you. So assemble with the saints tomorrow. It'll do you good. All right. That's it. Lord willing, we'll be back again tomorrow with another lesson. All right. Bye-bye for now.